Hello out there, Physics 277 students, and hello to anyone else on YouTube who may be watching this video. This video will demonstrate how to use the gfortran compiler, which is part of the GNU compiler collection, to compile a simple Fortran program where the entire program is found only in a single file. So to demonstrate that, let me show you a simple Fortran program that I have present here in this directory. I have a file. If I do an ls, you will see a file named hello_world.fo8. This is a Fortran program written in modern Fortran form according to the Fortran 2008 standard. It's only a few lines of code. Let me show you what's in here. And you can see there's only 5 lines of code. This is almost the simplest possible program that I could write in Fortran. I could make it a little simpler by dropping 2 lines of code, but they wouldn't be consistent with good programming practice to do so, so I'll stick with this. At any rate, we want to take this file, which is a source code file, and we want to compile this into an executable file. And to do that, we're going to invoke the gfortran compiler. And as I said, this is part of the GNU compiler collection. So the particular version of gfortran that I'm using here we can find by saying gfortran, which will be the command we use, in -- version. And this particular version is version 4.8.5 of the compiler, which is a fairly recent version. It's by no means the most recent version. So let's look at how we'll use this. The syntax for using gfortran is we say gfortran, and then we can take, or supply, I should say, oops, I misspelled gfortran. We say gfortran, and then as an argument, I supply the name of the file that I wish to compile. This is the simplest possible way we could use gfortran. There are going to be more complicated ways we can do it that do things in multiple stages, where we separate compilation from the linking stage, and we will do that later in the course. But for now, just to get you started, this will be the simplest way we can invoke the gfortran compiler. We'll say gfortran and give it the name of the file we wish to compile. Now, we'll do this, and let's see what happens when I do so. Oh, I misspelled gfortran again. gfortran. Fortran. Okay, now I believe I have it right. And when I do this, I get no output. We don't see anything, but that's what is to be expected, actually. If I do an ls command, I have a new file sitting there in my present working directory called a.out. And this is the executable file that has been output by the gfortran compiler. This is a binary file. We cannot use tools like cat or more or less to actually look at this file because it's not text inside, unlike what was in the source code file hello_world.fo8. Okay, how could I execute this? Well, the simplest way I could do that is I could say /a.out. And when I run it, it says hello world. It wrote to the screen hello world. And we got to stop 0 there too, which we'll worry about later in the course. We'll talk about what that means. So the program ran successfully. Now, by default, when we invoke gfortran in this fashion, it names the executable file a.out. That's typically not the way we're going to want to name executable files on Linux or Unix systems. The convention one normally follows is if, for example, you have your source code in a single file like hello_world.fo8, you might wish to name your executable hello_world. So how could I do that? Well, one way I could do it is to use the move command now, and I could say move a.out to, oops, I'm having lots of typing errors here today, a.out to hello_world, like that. And now I have an executable named consistently with the source code file. But I could skip this and do this in a single step. I wouldn't have to do the move. Let me show you how that's done. I'll remove hello world here. I'll delete it. And just to prove I've deleted it, do the ls. There's only a single file in this directory now. This time I'm going to invoke the gfortran compiler, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to use an option. It's called the -o option. -o. That's a lowercase o. And this flag to the gfortran compiler tells the compiler, name the file, the output file, name the output file, whatever argument follows the -o. So in this case, I can supply a name here. All right, so if I say hello world here, like this, when I execute this command now, as it presently is, all right, now if I do an ls, the executable file was named hello world, and I can run it by typing /hello world. Oops, there we go. And indeed it works. Last thing I want to tell you about. Why did we have to type // in order to execute that executable file? Well, it's because it depends on how you, it depends on how you have your path set up. All right. If your path is set up to include the present working directory as part of your path, then you can just execute the file by typing hello _world, like this. If you don't have your path variable set up to include the present working directory, you'll have to give a relative path to that file in order for the shell to be able to find it. And that's why you may have to type /hello world. Now, if you have your path set up, then you can avoid doing this. If you haven't seen the video that I produced about shell variables, environment variables, and how to set your path, I'll put a link to it at the end of this video in the upper right corner. So check that out, and that's going to be all for this video. If you have any questions, if you're one of my students, you can see me during office hours. Otherwise, you can post a comment on this below here on this video, and I'll be happy to respond to it. So we'll see you here next time.